like that's just this sort of value that is built in to people when they're like collecting NFTs or whatever. And that's something that, with Bitcoin and whatnot, it's harder to think about self-custody in that way because it's so much easier to just like leave it on an exchange, right? And like I have friends who are like Lightning developers who still don't trust themselves with self-custody. But with NFTs, you're kind of forced to start self-custody. And so then when people look into, Bitcoin and, holding other assets, stablecoins and whatnot, they're kind of automatically onboarded onto self-custody. I think that's another thing that's really beneficial about like the entire crypto ecosystem, as degenerate as it may be.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, it's like, it sounds like you have like pretty well-known or pretty sophisticated friends. Like I've gone to a couple NFT meetups just to kind of scope out the scene.
Yeah.
I work at Casa. It's a Bitcoin security company. We help people keep their Bitcoin safe, and so in a non-custodial way. So this is really interesting to me. How are people in other ecosystems self-custodying their assets, right? Like with NFTs. And what I discovered as I'm just talking to people is like, dude, they've never even heard of a hardware wallet. They've never even heard of Ledger. And what they're doing is they've heard of MetaMask and they created the wallet online on the browser and they have like millions of dollars in NFTs just stuck in that web browser for MetaMask.
Yeah, that's
and like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like how can you do that? I would not be able to sleep at night because I would worry that the next morning I wake up, it's gone.
Yeah, I think at the very least, like MetaMask is a form of self-custody with a hot wallet, and then from there you can move, like you can advance. Like if you have a significant amount of money in NFTs or just like in Ethereum or Ethereum-based assets, people are going to tell you like you better secure that with a Ledger or a Trezor or something, because you might get hacked. Lots of exploits there.
Yeah, and I guess maybe part of like my journey into the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space has been that, bad trades, losing crypto, like getting hacked or whatever, or like my stuff stolen. That's the price that I'm paying for my education, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so maybe there is some aspect of that maybe they have to go through and learn. Like they keep it in a hot wallet, NFT's gone. Man, I really should have like, how do I make sure I secure that?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think on the topic of like NFTs as applied to sort of appealing crypto to the masses a little bit more, especially the upcoming generations, things that I'm honestly like pretty excited for are like Web3 becoming mainstream with mainstream brands, such as, you've probably heard Starbucks is going to be partnering with Polygon to release some sort of like Web3 thing. I don't know what it is, maybe reward points or something. But I think stuff like that is really relevant for the broader adoption of crypto just in general, including stuff like Bitcoin. And I'm a Bitcoiner at heart, and I wholeheartedly believe this. I mean, I don't think that Bitcoin wins and goes forward without the entire crypto ecosystem moving forward as well. And the larger crypto ecosystem is probably the thing that's going to attract the next generation of builders, of hodlers, of traders, and whatnot. It can't just be like a cool niche internet money that is like for escaping, the government or whatever.
Okay, between you and me, what the hell does Web3 mean? Like, I mean, can you break it down a little bit, or I don't know?
Yeah, I feel like
it's like a moving target, right? Yeah. Like 6 months ago it means something else. Like this today it means something else. It's like different. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really hard to define concretely because this landscape is changing so quickly.
Right.
But really, what Web3 is about is like decentralized ownership in a digital economy. And that can mean a variety of things. It doesn't just mean, transacting money. It means, like other property, assets, engaging in the metaverse.
All right, well, I learned absolutely nothing today because I'm an old boomer and I don't listen to people who are younger than me. But why don't we open it up to the audience? Does anybody have any questions that you'd like to ask Sarah Satoshi?
You can ask me about anything.
AMA.
Yeah.
Got one right there. He's gonna run it to you right there.
Hey, so what is your favorite NFT on Liteverse? Have you been on Liteverse?
I have not. I found out it existed today. Yeah, there is a cool watch company.
Are you sure you're a
next
Zoomer?
door. I know, like, if you buy a watch from that one watch company in the expo hall, they'll give you an NFT. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Proof of ownership.
Proof of
Or
ownership. All
something.
right. We got one back there. If we can run the mic.
Yes, hello. So reaching Gen Z, in terms of platform-wise, do you see the existing platforms like TikTok being of value, or which platforms and what sort of content do you suggest serving up to them?
Yeah, so Zoomers are mostly on TikTok, I would say. I think another sphere of influence that's really important is through school, like through universities, honestly. I think like blockchain in universities didn't really start ramping up until literally like the last 3 years. And so I remember like being at Berkeley with a ton of blockchain courses and clubs and whatnot. And we actually had like professors who were like completely against the concept of like Bitcoin and yeah, a really famous cryptography professor, Nicholas Weaver. I audited some of his classes. He's like very against the concept of Bitcoin. But you have a good mix there. And so like from university, I think that's where like people can start discovering just like what it's like to really work in the industry and build in the industry. So yeah, but yeah, TikTok is a big one. I think.
Is Twitter still relevant? Like, are there Zoomers on Twitter? Because I use Twitter all day, every day.
Yeah, I think people on crypto are generally on Twitter all day, every day. Gen Z people, it's more like it's niched, so it's not necessarily generational. Like, I'm on Taylor Swift Twitter, for instance. Go stream Midnights. She has a huge community on there of people who are like age 13 to 35, you know. So we're all over the place. In terms of like content for Gen Z, I think one thing I want to mention is like my biggest sort of mainstream project was a Bitcoin course that I wrote for Bitcoin Magazine. It's a little bit like of a maxi course. There's some stuff that I would probably update myself because I wrote it a year ago. But I think the reason why it was so popular was because the language that I was using was very much something that was like far more relatable for younger people rather than something that was like conceptually sort of older.
Well, like, no, it's true because a lot of the content is very like technically oriented. Like,
yeah.
Right. When you read articles about how like Bitcoin or Litecoin works, typically it's like, oh, you know, Bitcoin uses SHA-256 for its mining hashing algorithm, and then like, you know, to a Zoomer, like they're like, what?
Yeah,
Why do
like,
I care
whatever.
about that?
I don't care about
what
that
does that
unless
matter?
like I'm interested in the technical aspects.
Right.
Yeah.
But so it sounds like you use different language, funner language, to kind of keep them engaged and kind of remove the more like serious, boring, maybe technical type stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And actually that leads me into like UI UX just in general on crypto. I think one thing about that is like I designed the entire thing to look really beautiful.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
That's
I
cool.
made all the graphics, and that's a really important part, I think, of education in general, because like across the board in crypto, design and user experience is a big hurdle to overcome, right? Like, I don't think that, you know, cold storage self-custody is the best UX. I think in addition to that, a lot of the software, especially in Bitcoin, is really bad, like UI-wise. For instance, if you guys know, like the Cold Card, which is a hardware Bitcoin wallet. I have thoughts on the Cold Card. It's cool. It looks like a clear calculator, but its design is clearly not made for the masses. It is very difficult to learn how to use as an average user. You need to, like, from everything from the software to the hardware of it, it's just difficult to use. It's not really geared towards most people. Most people like using things that are easy to use, that are beautiful to use. And so, you know, when Foundation came out, and Foundation is like a very similar wallet to Cold Card. It's like rose gold, it's gorgeous, it has like a beautiful app. It was just like better UI UX, you know, and that's the thing that's gonna get more people to be onboarded.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, they fork Cold Card's code.
Yeah,
they build stuff on top of it.
Open source licensing
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
with
yeah.
that,
All right.
but we won't get into
Yeah, we won't get
Yeah.
into there. No, that's pretty cool. Like with like UX and UI stuff, I've got to say, Casa, my company's UX is pretty top notch. It's pretty beautiful. Yeah. Okay. So, but like, yeah, let's contrast that with like, let's say Robinhood and how they've kind of gamified the experience.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's dynamic. There's like alerts. There's games. They try to like really
They have,
incentivize
like,
user
confetti
behavior.
that falls down when you make a purchase.
Right. There's not a lot of that going on in crypto wallet UX and stuff. So
Yeah.
I can see what you're saying there. Yeah.
I think that's a major area that needs a lot of improvement before we even consider like mainstream adoption. It's just a big factor that I think a lot of people just in crypto don't think about too much because they're already in it for the tech. Like most of us here probably already know how, you know, cold storage or at least like hot wallets work. It's a big hurdle for a lot of people. And also it's like the trust factor for trusting yourself is very difficult to take on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why like I appreciate like services like Casa where, you know, you have like just like multi-sig little operations that they help you set up, and not a plug for Casa.
I'm gonna like snippet that and then post it on Twitter. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for your time. This has been really fun chatting with you. And yeah, well, thanks everyone for staying around. We'll talk to you guys
thank
later.
you.